Sweet. So thank you everyone for coming into the second webinar, Get to the Point series. We have a very special person here. It's not every day we get a two-time Olympian and two-time World Cup competitor joining us. So thank you so much, Jenny Bindon, for being here.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
So where are you right now? So you are in the beautiful isolation, are you?
Yes, I am in New Zealand, the beautiful New Zealand, not the beautiful isolation. So landed in Auckland, and about 10 minutes later, it felt like 10 hours, they told us we're flying you to Christchurch. So you heard this across the plane. So yes, in Christchurch, same scenery every day. Not a lot happens here at the Christchurch Airport at the Novotel in Christchurch, but it's good. I'm in New Zealand, so no complaints.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time you came back to New Zealand?
So it's been over 2 years, so I'm glad to be back. My family has been here since August. I have a 15-year-old son, so we felt it was important for him to have opportunities to try to be a normal 15-year-old, but he's been pretty amazing. He's been doing online schooling back in America, so 4:30 up every day doing school and playing footy here. So that's all we want to do, right? Is play footy. So he's here and loving it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. You know, for a lot of people that are tuning into this, a lot of female soccer athletes, and they all have aspirations of becoming a professional. And, you know, you've completely done A to Z, you know, whatever you can think about going to college or becoming a professional, you've done that. And for those that, you know, don't know Jenny, she was one of the most amazing goalkeepers and is now a really amazing coach. She played over 70 games for New Zealand. And your journey hasn't been as simple as other people. You know, you've gone to college, and then you've gone out of college, and then you've worked, and then you got into it. I know we spoke a little bit about your past, but not many people, you know the whole journey. Do you mind sharing how you got into it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a multi-sport athlete, and you got to realize I'm probably older than most people think. So I graduated from high school in 91. So off to college, I went with my twin sister, and I was a 3-sport athlete at the Division II level, which is pretty crazy. Not a lot of people, especially today, but back then, played 3 sports. There were a couple dual athletes, but not the 3. So I played soccer, basketball, and tennis, and got a little bit burned out. Told my parents they'd never pay for my education, which was a pretty big thing to say back then and even now. But joined the Coast Guard, did that for 4 years and got the GI Bill. I come from a military family, so that wasn't too out of the blue for me to do that. I always wanted to serve and give back, and I think that's kind of my mentality and who I am as a person, is always wanting to serve and give back. And then from there, I went to Lewis University, where I met my husband, Grant, who played volleyball there. He was also on the New Zealand national team for many, many years. Left there. While I was there, I worked for in the States, in Chicago. The school I went to was called Lewis University. It was a small Jesuit school up in Chicago. Great education, and very excited to have graduated from there. Great opportunity, which aligned me working with a great organization with the Chicago Bulls and White Sox. So I was working with them as an intern during the Michael Jordan era, and worked under that umbrella of people, and learned heaps, and went to New Zealand after getting married, and from there I worked with Nike New Zealand, and an opportunity came up to play for the Ferns, and I didn't hesitate, but jumped at it, and I guess the rest is kind of history. It set me up for the successes that I've had. I competed in two World Cups and 2 Olympics, and like you said, I had multiple caps for New Zealand, and very, very proud Kiwi. I call myself a Kiwi can or a Marywee, but identify mostly as a Kiwi, since that's where I spent most of my adult life. So
we love that.
Absolutely. So that's kind of me. I mean, there were ups and downs along the way, but I think, you know, as I spoke with you earlier, I think it's really important that you set yourself up for different paths. I think we all see the peak of where we want to go, but you know, you're going to take a different route to someone else. And as long as you're aligning what your values and beliefs are, I think you're all going to get to where you want to be. I just have to. Yep. And so opportunities will come. You just got to be brave enough, right? You just got to be brave enough. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with so many athletes that are, even 14 years old. And when I speak at high schools, I say, what do you want to do? And they said, I want to be a professional athlete. That's their dream. And there's so many different ways that people can do that. I've heard of people, just going and trying becoming a professional right away. But I guess the risk of that is if you do get injured, what have you got to fall back on? And what I really, was really intriguing speaking with you, Jenny, was the fact that, you got an education, you came back to New Zealand, you worked for Nike, which is awesome. And then you pursued a professional pathway. Like, how did you get into becoming a pro? Like, who contacted you? How did that all happen?
Yeah, my path was a little bit different. I think at that time when I had played for the national team with John Herdman, and one thing that he continually preached to me was to get your license, to keep getting your badges so that you could progress from playing to coaching or doing that. I did coach education while I was playing. I just always wanted to be involved in the game. So I took his advice, and that set me up to where I am today on the coaching realm. But I think the professional playing was taking opportunities, getting seen, talking to as many people as possible, and as Kiwis, very well respected globally. People aren't intimidated, or they look for Kiwis. They want Kiwis to go and play. Like, if you talk to college coaches, when they see a New Zealander, they know that you give them internet, a pillow, and a blanket, and they're pretty much happy. Where that's how we're viewed in the realm of things, where you're not a needy person. They know you're going to get your task done. You're going to do what you do. And I think that's what I had in the professional thing. I was picked up by Sky Blue FC back in the day. I was playing for them. I signed a contract with them. And then I realized for me that being there was a little bit, I had a son and a husband back in New Zealand. So I called John up and said, hey, like, this is cool, but not really me. And that's when I came back and played in the first division men's team at Hibiscus Coast. So I did that for 7 years, and then other opportunities came up to play pro, but I stayed around in New Zealand. But so I think for me, it was the opportunities are there, and if you can play soccer and travel the world, I think what we're seeing now is that there's way more opportunities. So back then it was called the WPS, which is now the NWSL, and now there's the W League that started, huge in Sweden, France, Germany. You can go to Iceland. There's so many places. Mexico is now starting a women's league. You're really seeing a lot of professional teams spending money, especially the EPL. They're putting a lot of money and resources into the program for the women and for the men. I mean, you can be a pro and playing, first division down to third division and making a decent wage. So that's important too.
That's awesome. And so, after going through your professional career and then looking back on it now you're involved in, college coaching. You've coached at UCLA. You're on the coaching staff for them. Now you're the Division I head women's coach at Loyola Marymount University, which is extremely well known. And I've been to that campus. It's absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to come there in the future sometime soon. And, you're working with a lot of athletes now that have aspirations of becoming professional. Do you think that, going to college definitely puts them on a bigger stage in terms of being seen by professional scouts? Do you have many scouts that contact you?
Yeah, I mean, I know a few. I've helped a few players, not only from UCLA, but other universities as a contact. I think that there's like I said, there's opportunity. It's out there for many people to play. And I think it's about, knowing that's what you want to do, and then doing everything you can to get there. So you'll have players that are on the bench at UCLA, where if they were chosen a better school where they were going to get quality minutes, education, and then they could set themselves up to go overseas and play. So I think we don't really understand the landscape in America or what you need to do to get there. So it's about finding, one, you want to play for someone who has your style play that's going to suit you. You want to go in and you're basically in a relationship with that coach for 4 years with that program. So, as someone who sets kids up, you don't want them to go into a relationship with somebody that they don't want to be with. So it's important that you guys align yourself with whoever is going to help you to get to that next pathway of playing in professionally. I think you have to set yourself up too that, there's players and people out there that are going to help you, but it's really important that you are doing the background work. And I think we all think we want to be pros, but proven is that you don't really succeed or be at your full potential till your mid-20s, and then you have this short window. So college, in my opinion, sets you up. I think there are some players that are ready for it, but let's be honest, this is the time that you're going to grow as a person. You're going to discover who you are, and you're going to be able to make mistakes in an environment where you're not going to be like you didn't pay your bill of your apartment, and now you're being asked to leave because you're in Germany and you didn't understand what language the landlord was talking to you. You're in college and all that's set up for you. And that's why I think it's so important that you can go away, be in a safe environment in the collegiate game, still getting exactly what you need, and then you can go to the pro. Or you go to the pro and then you're done with that, and then you're left with where's your education. And I think with the collegiate coming to America or going to Australia or going wherever you can where you can have that education plus play soccer is a win-win and sets you up for future success of you as a person, professionally as an occupation or professionally playing the game. So
absolutely. And one thing that I do respect about college, one of the many things I respect about college is that, the kids that come into college are like 17, 18 years old. They're still very young and they haven't matured right then to be, self-dependent. Some of them do rely on you. And you're basically their second mother when they're there. You help them out, you guide them, and they need that guidance. And one thing I do like is that athletes can come there, they can start their education and then develop. And then if they want to go to, leave, like Joe Bell, for example, that wanted to leave and go professional right away. He went to Virginia for 1 year. Then he wanted to leave to go on a pro contract. The college would always take them back to finish their education. And this happens in other sports. There's a great tennis player called Cameron Norrie from Bucklands Beach in Auckland. And, he's now under the Great Britain umbrella, but went to TCU for 1 year, absolutely crushed it. And then was good enough to go pro, use the resources on campus, went on a professional tour, and then TCU said, you guys can come back whenever you want. It looks good for the college. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, a lot of colleges, just so you're aware, and that's something to ask in the recruiting process, is a lot of colleges set up that if you go in and you complete 1 year of so this is what's really important about this, is that you have to be in good academic standing with your first year of playing. So that's 2 semesters or 4 quarters.
Right.
That you have a positive GPA, so you're eligible to play in the NCAA, and then they will then pay for it. So UCLA, for example, it's not a one and done program. They set it up because so many players in football and basketball, men's especially, have come there, do their 1 year, and then they go play in the professional, and then they come back and finish their degree, and their scholarship is still honored. So there are programs like that at different universities that it's set up for you to do that, and that's a really good question that you should be asking the university if you want to be a pro.
Like, as you said earlier, there are some athletes that are good enough that can go out and try and become professional right away. There's a small percentage of those athletes that can. But what I worry about as a recruiter is seeing athletes looking at the peak, as you said earlier, wanting to go professional. And then they sign a contract with a club. Now, as soon as you sign a contract with a club, you can never play college anymore because you haven't gone there, you haven't started, and it's a violation of the NCAA rules. And so, someone that has gone through something like this is actually my younger brother. I've used this example before. He's a professional tennis player. He's one of the top players in New Zealand right now. But, looking back, a lot of his mates that are currently playing at Wimbledon and US Open went to college. They got a degree. And so, I asked him the other day, if you could wind back the clock, would you go to college? He said, absolutely. Why not? I got nothing to lose. So only to gain. And so, some of the players in your team, you mentioned to me, when we were talking a while ago, that, you've got some under 20 representatives from around the world. Could you talk to us a little bit about some of the girls that you're currently looking after?
Yeah, so one of the girls we're currently looking after is Mia Villegas, and she is the captain of the U20 women's national team. Unfortunately, the women's tournaments have been canceled for FIFA upcoming, so she's had to kind of readjust. But for her, and that's another question you have to ask is, is I understand what it means to play for your country and to be an international athlete. So that's the pinnacle, right? If you can play for your country, that you ask any pro player, they want to play for their country. They want to play in that World Cup. That means more than winning the club championship, or, it's up there. It's one of the pinnacles. So for us, we do everything we can to support her. I'm in constant communication with Mexico, letting her know where she's fitting in all aspects, from grades to her fitness levels to what she's doing. We send them film. We really communicate and try to delve into it. And it's one thing that Mia said to me the other day, is that I'm always held accountable. I can't slip, because if I slip, everyone's going to know about it. And it's a little bit of pressure for her, but she also says she really enjoys it, because that's what she needs to be elite, is being pushed to the next level. And that's what we're trying to create at LMU, is an environment of elitism. And I think that is what you get in the collegiate game, is that you have a sports scientist. We call them, they're called sports performance here. You have the team doctor, or you also have the athletic trainer. You have your sports psych, and you have your coaching staff. So you're hitting all four of those corners that are going to help you grow and be the best person you can be, which will then translate into what you do in your relationships or in life and work relationships. So I think it's pretty positive.
Absolutely. And I was just checking before, someone actually asked a question while we're talking. And the question was, this person asked, how do you know what kind of playing styles different colleges have? What sort of advice could you give to a prospective student athlete on that?
Well, I think you can probably look at their records of that, and you can ask the coach, like, what systems do you play? What are you trying to do through the thirds? If you can start to talk and analyze the game, it's hard. Like, depending on where you are, you can probably get footage. You can go back and watch YouTube clips of that team playing, and are they just kicking it long and really direct, which some teams do, some conferences play like that? Or are they trying to keep possession? Do they have players that are quality on the ball, that want to dribble and take people on? Are they putting in these massive big tackles? I mean, you look at a conference like the Pac-12 that UCLA plays in, and then you look at a conference like the SEC or ACC, two different styles. Pac-12, they want to keep possession. They play a nicer style of the game, which may be the ticky-tacky, or a possession-based game with there's some flair, they're building up. Or you go to the SEC and it's going to be, they're just going to kick the ball as far down the pitch as possible and just hit you as hard as they can. Yeah. More of that. So that's the type of things that you want to play. Do you want to be that player that's hitting the ball down the pitch as far as you can, over people, trying to turn them constantly, and then running as fast as you can? Or do you want to play soccer? Do you want to play football? Do you want to keep possession and try to build through the thirds? And I think it depends on, some people like the direct style, and some people like to play the game. And those questions you need to start asking the coach. You're also interviewing them, even though they're showing interest in you and you're trying to get them to have this dialogue and get a scholarship. I think is often the focus, but the focus should be on what's going to help you progress. If you really want to be a professional, you want to make sure you're in an environment that's going to allow you to achieve success on the pitch and off the pitch, for you to move to advance to the next level. The money is a subsidiary of all of that.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Yep, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And there's a lot of, as I said it before, there's a lot of people that are going to be 15 or 17 that will be watching this, and some of them want to be playing for the Ferns one day. And, some of the conversations, especially within some clubs in New Zealand, is, not so much leaning on the college pathway. Some are saying, go another pathway. Being someone that's been on both the professional side and the college side, and seeing how both things are, and competing at the highest levels in the world for women's soccer, what is your advice to them?
Ooh, I think I've kind of touched on it. I think it's really understanding what you're wanting out of the process and what you want out of a school. So if you're going to look at the collegiate pathway as something that you want to do, then you need to be kind of putting in different buckets or different silos. And one is, the coaching staff. Do you relate to them? Do you enjoy talking to them? Do you feel that you're valued and that you're respected and they understand you as a person and they're going to help guide you in these 4 years that you're there. Second thing is the players. What's the team like? What's the dynamics? What's the culture? Is that something I want to be a part of and help to contribute to? And then you're looking at school-wise. Does it have something that I'm interested in? What am I doing? Because you're on the pitch and you're training, and if you divide up your day, you're doing half of it soccer or football and half of it is academics, and at times one will overweigh the other. So you have to realize I am a student athlete. So is there something that I'm interested in that's going to help me when I return to New Zealand or professionally when I'm done, that I didn't waste my time? So that's another thing you need to look at. You need to look at location. Can I play this game year round? In LA, you can play soccer year round. I mean, it's warmer in LA right now than it is here in Christchurch. So you have to realize where you're going, and do they have facilities? What's the structure, the infrastructure like? Academically, do they have a resource that I can get tutors, or there's an academic support team that helps me? Those are key things you need to be looking at. Do they have the weight room? What's the weight room like? What's the strength and conditioning sports performance coach like? Do I get like them? Do they have something that's going to help me get better? And it's not about going and being like a gridiron player. It's about, do they have the resources that are going to help me look after my body, as far as your regeneration, about your injury prevention, about doing everything you need to do to be injury free, because that's the key, right? If you want to be a professional, you need to be injury free. And then from there, I think if you're looking at all those different things, you figure out which one you really like, and then you start on the money side. I think we tend to go, can I get a full ride? Can I get a full ride? And I'll tell you what, those are really, really, really hard to come by. They don't really happen. So you have to be prepared.
Oh, totally. Full rides, especially with COVID right now.
I don't know.
No, that answers
that's the hard thing.
question.
I think with COVID, everyone needs to understand that every single athlete, this 2021 season, so 2020 meaning fall, and then your 2021 is your spring. See, they counted for nothing. So everyone from a freshman to a senior is re-gifted a year. So it's like a free red shirt, they call it in America and the NCAA. So everyone has that. So the player pool has just been like quadrupled. So it's really hard to get offers right now, to let alone get a roster spot. And one thing that's really important is that you can always get more. So if you're willing, and there's a program that you really like, and you're willing to go there, you can always end up getting more money as you play. So it's not like you have to get it all in the one. So
absolutely,
it's an investment. You're investing in yourself, your education, and your football. And
absolutely. And for those that are watching this, like, GPAs in high school are so important. Like, I've been talking with a bunch of coaches this week, like yesterday and this morning, and I've had conversations with coaches saying that some students, if they get like a 3.3 out of 4 GPA, they could get up to 20 grand in academic aid. Like, it's so easy if you do the work. And if you're 15 and 14 and you're watching this, really take note of that. And you can do the SAT as many times as you want. If you're year 12 in New Zealand or grade 11 in Australia, do an SAT a year before you're about to graduate high school. So you've got time to improve it. Be smart about that, because some universities have got an ability to stack academic and soccer money as well. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. Appreciate you speaking with us. And I know you're super busy keeping in touch with the girls and keeping them going overseas as well. So I really appreciate your time and look forward to catching up with you hopefully soon, when you're out of Christchurch. Not too long to go. But yeah, I appreciate that. And I know that a lot of people are going to get a lot of information out of this, and it's going to be extremely valuable to them. So thank you so much.
No worries, mate. All the
Awesome.
best. Good luck.
Cheers. See ya.